Everybody, Miss Roberts here for day one of Vacation Under the Volcano, where we're going to go on another adventure with Jack and Annie. I have to say, though, this volcano heat is making me think of how it is outside. It is a warm one today. Wow. Okay, so we're starting off with Chapter 1. A Secret Code. Ooh. Jack reached into his drawer and took out his secret library card. He held the thin piece of wood and ran his finger over its shimmering letters. M.L. Master Librarian, he whispered. Jack couldn't believe that he and his sister Annie were finally master librarians. He wondered if he should pack the secret card to take on vacation. His family was about to leave for a week in the mountains. Just then, Annie stuck her head into Jack's room. Sorry about that, friends. Want to check the woods? She asked. Every morning they looked in the Frog Creek woods to see if Morgan Le Fay and her magical treehouse had returned. We can't, said Jack. We're leaving soon. But what if Morgan's there? Said Annie. What if she's waiting for us? Okay, said Jack. Let's look fast. He grabbed his backpack. He threw in his notebook and his pencil and his secret library card. Then he followed Annie downstairs. We'll be back soon, Annie called. Don't go far, their dad called. We're leaving in 20 minutes. Don't worry, we'll be back in 10, said Annie. Right, thought Jack. 5 minutes to the woods and 5 minutes back. Even if Morgan sent them on an adventure, they would return at the exact time that they left. Jack and Annie ran out of their front door. In the bright morning sunshine, they hurried across the lawn and down the street. I had a nightmare last night, said Annie. What was it? Said Jack. I dreamed fires were burning, said Annie. Everything was smoky and dark, and the ground was shaking. Do you think it was a warning? Nah, said Jack. Nightmares never come true. They left the sidewalk and headed into the Frog Creek woods. The woods were quiet and peaceful. They walked between the sunlit trees until they came to the tallest oak in the woods. Yay, said Annie. There it was, the Magic Treehouse, and Morgan Le Fay was waving from the window. Hail, Master Librarians, she said. Jack and Annie bowed playfully. At your service, said Annie. Then come on up, said Morgan. They grabbed the rope ladder and started up. When they climbed inside the treehouse, they found Morgan holding a book and a piece of paper. I have an important mission for you, she said. Are you ready? Yes, they both answered. Jack's heart pounded. Ever since Morgan had made them master librarians, he had been longing for their first mission. You know I collect books for Camelot's library, she said. Jack and Annie nodded. Well, there have been many great libraries lost in history, said Morgan. And with them we have lost many wonderful stories. That's sad, said Annie. It is, said Morgan. But luckily, with the help of the treehouse and 2 master librarians, some of the stories can be saved, such as this one. Morgan showed them a piece of paper. This was strange. There was strange writing on it. Fortissimus in mundo. Is that a secret code? Said Jack. I gotta read it when I'm looking at it. Fortissimus in mundo. Morgan smiled. In a way, she said. Actually, it's a title of the lost story. It's written in Latin, the language of the ancient Romans of Italy. Ancient Romans, said Jack. He loved anything to do with ancient Rome. Yes, said Morgan. This story was in the library in a Roman town. I need you to get it before the library becomes lost forever. No problem, said Annie. Do you have your secret library cards? Asked Morgan. Yes, said Jack. Good, do you not lose them. The right people will know what they mean, said Morgan. And, as usual, here is the book to help you. Morgan handed Jack a book called Life in Roman Times. The cover showed a Roman town with people wearing tunics and sandals. That looks great, said Jack. And take this, the name of the story I need, said Morgan. She handed the piece of paper to Jack, and he put it in his pack. Remember, said Morgan, your research book will guide you. But remember, in your darkest hour, only the ancient story can save you. But first, you must find it." Jack and Annie nodded. "Go now," Morgan said softly, "and don't forget what I just told you." "Thanks," said Jack. He pointed at the cover of the Roman Times. "I wish we could go there," he said. The wind started to blow. "I almost forgot. I'm going to help you blend in," Morgan shouted above the wind. "What do you mean?" shouted Jack. Before Morgan could answer, the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. "Oh, cool," whispered Annie. "Look at us." Chapter 2. The end is near. That doesn't sound good. Jack opened his eyes. He pushed his glasses into place. Morgan was gone, and so were Jack's jeans and t-shirt, sneakers, and backpack. Instead, he had on a white tunic with a belt, sandals that laced up, and a leather bag. He looked at Annie. She was dressed the same way. Morgan had made them look just like the kids in an ancient Roman town. "I guess this is what Morgan meant," said Jack, "when she said she'd help us blend in." "I feel like Cinderella," said Annie. "I like these clothes." "Yeah," said Jack, although he felt a little as if he was wearing a dress. Annie looked out the window. "It's pretty here," she said. Jack looked with her. They landed in a grove of trees. On one side of the grove rose a gentle-looking mountain. On the other side of the town, a town sparkled in sunlight. "I wonder where we are," said Jack. He opened the book about Roman times. He read aloud. "Almost 2,000 years ago, on August 24th, 79 AD, the seaside town of Pompeii was a typical Roman town. Many Romans went on their vacation. They built large houses called villas and planted groves of olive trees along the slope of the mountain called Mount Vesuvius." Annie kept looking out the window as Jack pulled out his notebook and pencil. He wrote, "Vacation in Pompeii, August 24, 79 AD. Houses called villas." Jack looked at the window again. "It does look like a nice place to go on a vacation," he said. "We must have landed in one of the olive groves," said Annie. "Yeah, and that town must be Pompeii," said Jack. He looked in the opposite direction, and the mountain must be Mount Vesuvius. Annie shivered. "That name sounds scary," she said. "Really?" said Jack. "Not to me." He looked down at his notes. "Hey, did you feel that?" said Annie. "What?" Jack looked up. "The ground shook. I heard it rumble." "Too," said Annie. Jack frowned. "I think you were just dreaming again," he said. "No, I wasn't," said Annie. "Something feels wrong about this place. I really think we should go home now." "Are you nuts?" said Jack. "We have to find the story for Morgan. Besides, I've always wanted to see a Roman town." He threw his notebook and the Rome book into his leather backpack. Then he went down the rope ladder. "Come on," he called when he stepped onto the ground. Annie just stared down at him. "Don't be a chicken," he said. He pushed his glasses into place. "Come on, it'll be fun." I feel like in this book, Jack and Annie have switched places. Normally it's Annie rushing off, but this time it's Jack. Annie still didn't move. "What's wrong with her?" Jack wondered. "Usually I'm the worried one." "Come on," he pleaded. "We can't let Morgan down." Annie let out a big sigh. "Okay, but we'd better find the story fast," she said. Finally, she climbed down the rope ladder. The sun was bright and hot as they took off between the olive trees. With Mount Vesuvius at their backs, they headed to the town of Pompeii. "That's weird," said Annie. "I don't hear any birds." She was right. The grove was strangely silent. "Don't worry about it," said Jack. "Maybe they're all at the beach. Come on, let's go over that bridge." He led the way to a small wooden bridge that crossed a narrow stream. But when they got to the stream, they found it had dried up. "That's really weird," said Annie. "Don't worry," said Jack. "It just means there hasn't been much rain." They crossed the bridge and stepped onto the busy street. It was paved with stone. People were buying things at open shops that lined the street. Some looked rushed and busy. Others moved slowly. Kids walked with their parents. Groups of teenagers talked and laughed. They don't seem very different from people shopping in Frog Creek, Jack thought. Except for their clothes, of course. How will we ever find the ancient lost library? Said Annie, glancing around. I don't know, said Jack. Just be on the lookout. They walked past shops that had huge jars in them. Then Jack looked closely. He saw that they were filled with grain, dried fruit, and olives. Meat hung from the ceilings in some stores. They passed a noisy tavern where people were eating and drinking. A young man played a stringed instrument. See, there's nothing to worry about, said Jack. This place isn't at all different from our time. It's not, said Annie, with a worried look. Oh, sorry. It's not that, said Annie with a worried look. See, there's a barber shop and a shoe shop, said Jack, pointing. The boy was getting his hair cut by the barber. A girl was trying on a new pair of sandals with her mother. It's kind of like home, Annie agreed. They kept walking until they passed the bakery filled with freshly baked flat breads. The bread is like a pizza, said Annie, smiling. Yeah, said Jack. The good smells from the bakery made him feel even more at home. Jack looked at Annie. She was still smiling as they walked on. Soon they came to a large square filled with people, carts, horses, and more shopping stalls. Pancakes, cakes, peacock eggs, sellers called. Farmers were selling grapes, garlic, and onions. Fishermen were selling all kinds of fish. A few people stood on boxes giving speeches to small crowds. Hey, I bet this is the Forum, said Jack. He reached into his bag for the book. He flipped through it until he found a picture of the square. He read, the center of the Roman town was called the Forum. The Forum was the main place where people met to sell goods and discuss politics. I was right, said Jack. He pulled out his notebook and he wrote, Forum, center of town. Jack, whispered Annie. Jack! She tugged on his tunic. Look! Jack glanced up. Annie nodded towards an old woman who was staring straight at them. She wore a black cloak. Her gray hair was tangled and wild. She seemed to be missing her teeth. The woman pointed a bony finger at Jack and Annie. The end is near, she said in a raspy home. Go home, strangers. Yikes, said Annie. We'd better get away from her, said Jack, before people wonder who we are. He put away his notebook. Then he and Annie hurried away. The old woman cackled behind them. Oh, spooky. And we will have to read more tomorrow with chapters 3 and 4. I hope you are having a good day, and I hope you are enjoying this beautiful weather, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.